Okay.
Hi, my name is Karisa, Almond, and this is Lois, Morton, and we are doing our presentation on global etiquette. What is global etiquette? The definition is an inquiry into the nature and justification of values and norms, for example, environmental problems, intervention, human rights. We did a little video that tells what global etiquette actually is.
I think that ethics emerges in relation to a community, to the extent that there is a functioning community where people are interdependent, where they know each other's names, where the reputation is on the line, then you'll get an ethic emerging. So that certainly happens in local communities, it happens within companies, it happens to a large extent within nations. It's very hard to scale that to a global level.
They're universal values that are shared in all cultures. There's research on that and there's psychological studies, but you can also see it when you're traveling around the world. Things like reciprocity, fairness, a sense of justice, trust, and what it takes to elicit that trust, being truthful. Those are shared values, but they're interpreted quite differently in different cultures.
The idea of a global ethic increasingly does not resonate with me, precisely because we increasingly can't do global. I mean, tell me, look, climate change is the most obvious global thing out there. I mean, short of being invaded by aliens, right? It's hard to come up with a more obvious global challenge. And we've had major climate summits now in Copenhagen and in Durban and in Cancun, and they've accomplished absolutely nothing.
I don't really believe in morals or ethics. I believe what matters is what you do. I mean, people can talk the hind legs of a donkey about morals, and I've learned to be very skeptical of that kind of talk. I worked for a government that claimed to believe in international law, a kind of moral version of the world, and yet was quite happy to break that law when it suited it.
Well, I think the closest thing I can see to a global ethic really is the international human rights framework, because for all of its ambiguity and debatability and fragility, it does exist.
I think there is a global ethic of responsibility, or at least I think responsibility is the starting point for a conversation about a global ethic. So we have the greatest change in my lifetime, I think, in 300 years of international law, or 400 years of international law, is the emergence of the responsibility to protect.
There are clear developments in the field of human rights, the laws of war, toward the globalization of some set of moral standards, moral rules. It's a long process, and we are clearly not all that far advanced.
Well, the most practical aspect of a global ethic is a recognition that we're all in this together. And precisely because our system is so interconnected these days, and shocks can be transmitted very, very fast, we should all recognize that actually, if we ignore the parts of the system that are poor or backward or don't seem to have any connectivity to us, we could actually end up damaging ourselves.
We've had emergence of the responsibility to protect.
There are clear developments in the field of human rights, the laws of war.
That was just a little video about what people thought of global etiquette. Etiquette varies widely from culture to culture. Some stuff that's perfectly normal in the United States might not be perfectly normal in other cultures, or it could be an insult. Examples of what not to do, using rude hand gestures, something that you may think is appropriate here, like if you touch somebody's shoulder. In some countries, that's considered rude. Touching, of course, as I said, elbow, shoulder, anything like that. Appearing self-important. Although in the United States, it is known to be prized to be self-confident, some cultures, including many in Europe and Asia, prefer a more humble multiple group, and it's in their communication style. Asking personal questions, when in doubt, it's safest to wait. If somebody else asks you a personal question, then you can open up about personal questions. Discussing religion is very, it could lead to, prejudice, and it could lead you to not getting a business deal. Discussing politics, just keep that out of your conversation. That's very bad usually. Unintentionally causing embarrassment, even though it's unintentionally, you want to research what embarrassing factors that culture may have. Saying no, in the Asian culture, that's actually considered very rude, and they'll get very uncomfortable after that. Examples of what to do.
So examples of what to do is just show respect, like she said. Humbleness is something that the United States we don't use so often. We're very forthcoming about all of our accomplishments. A lot of places they prefer to just get to know you as a person instead of just getting a list of your accomplishments done. Show that you care about the culture just by doing your research and not doing something that could upset them. Just like she said, like saying no. There's also in Greece, they also do no is like nai is yes. So if you say no, they assume that you're saying yes. So it can be seen as different than striking the balance, making sure that like they're understanding your culture, you're understanding their culture, so you're not rubbing each other the wrong way. Knowing your geography, you definitely don't want to get confused. Just like Asia and China, it's two different places. You don't want to disrespect somebody by just not knowing that simple thing. Mind your manners. Some places it's eating with your hands and stuff is totally normal versus here it's not. So to eat with forks is that. You address people with their surname and Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor. You clearly enunciate and you speak slower just because they may not have a full grasp of your language. You don't want to speak how you would speak to your friends or your family on a daily basis. Also with that, you want to enunciate. You don't want to use slang or jargon. You want to make sure that they understand everything you're saying. And then just know the appropriate greetings, when to shake hands, when not to shake hands, stuff like that.
Here's some examples of how global etiquette varies from country to country. In Thailand, you don't put food in your mouth with a fork. You're actually supposed to use your fork to put it onto your spoon and then eat it. In Japan, never stick chopsticks upright in your face. It's considered rude. You're supposed to put them right in front of you parallel. The Middle East, India, and parts of Africa, you don't eat with your left hand. The left hand is considered what you use to do bodily functions and considered to be dirty. So you're not even supposed to shake with your left hand. At a traditional feast in Georgia, it's rude to sip your wine. Wine is drunk only at toast. And then whenever it's a toast, you down it. You have to drink it all at one time. In Mexico, you never eat tacos with a fork or knife, which we don't really do that here in the US. But in Mexico, it's considered rude and silly and snobby. In Italy, you only drink cappuccino and coffees before noon. In France, you don't eat your bread as an appetizer before the meal. You're actually supposed to eat it at the end of the meal. Unlike in the US, we eat that bread at the very beginning. The bread's supposed to actually sit on the plate if it's brought out before the meal, and you eat it after. In China, don't flip the fish. It's like whenever you're cooking it, you don't flip it. It's considered bad luck. Also, in Italy, you don't ask for Parmesan on your pizza or any other time. It's not actually offered. Putting Parmesan on a pizza is actually seen like sin. A rule of thumb, if they don't offer it to you, don't ask for it. Don't eat anything, even fries, with your hands at a meal in Chile. Manners are a little more formal there. In Korea, if an older person offers you a drink, it's a sign of respect. You receive it with both of your hands. In Russia, you never mix or turn down vodka. It's actually considered rude. You don't even mix it with ice. And if you turn it down, drinking with somebody is a sign of trust and friendship. So if you turn it down, it's considered rude. Even if it's 9 a.m., you're supposed to drink it. When drinking coffee in the Middle East, shake the cup at the end, or they'll continue to pour you more coffee. And in Brazil, a lot of the restaurants, when you're eating, you have a token, and you're supposed to, if you get tired, if you don't want anything else, you have to turn it over, or else they're going to continue to bring you lots of food whenever it's on green. Knowing what the etiquette rules are won't just save you from some really awkward situations, it can also help you make friends. It's really a statement of openness and awareness about the world.
So I went over a couple of business meeting do's, things that you should just keep in mind when you're visiting other countries and doing international business. So in China, appointments must be made preferably 1 to 2 months in advance, and punctuality is of extreme importance. Also, when you're making these meetings in China, it's preferred that all of the writing be done in their dialect. That's a lot of countries, such as Italy and Germany and Russia. They want, especially when you go to the meeting, they want both forms, like they want an English of what you're going to be saying and also in their dialect so they can understand better. In Brazil, it's more important for them to like the person they are doing business with versus the actual company itself. They're very face-to-face oriented, so if they don't bring up if they don't bring up a business topic, you don't just jump right into it. They generally want to get to know you, so that's not something that you just throw out there. You just wait for them to bring it up before you start talking about business. And then in Germany, when entering a room, the eldest and highest ranking person is the first one to enter the room, and it's always a male that enters first. Women are always, they enter after the males, and it's good to make direct eye contact when speaking about business. And then in Russia, you have to be prepared because their presentations are expected to be extremely detailed with histories and other people's review on certain subjects. They want it broken down. They want to know everything that you say during the meeting. They want it written down before it comes out of your mouth. They want to know everything from start to finish. And then in Italy, most communications should be translated in Italian, just like with the China, like in China and Germany. And they tend to be multiple conversations going around at one time. So in the United States, we don't tend to talk over each other during a business meeting. When somebody else is talking, you're listening, you're paying attention. In Italy, it's more common when you're having a business meeting for multiple people to be carrying on different conversations as the business meeting is going on. It's just good to know that so you don't feel like you're being disrespected or they're not listening to you because they are. That's just, different personalities mesh in different ways. And these are all different for business meetings in the US because in the US we're very punctual. A lot of these countries like Italy, Brazil, they're very laid back. It's actually known for meetings to be canceled or pushed back, but in the US we like to be very punctual, on time, have everything laid out for you before you get there. So all of this is just, business etiquette is knowing what to say and more about how you act. So it's not so much like we said, besides the US, it's very, everywhere else likes for you to be humble. So no matter what country you're going to, you need to make sure that you know everything about their culture because disrespecting their culture could just lead to a bad business start or no business start at the very beginning. You won't even get a chance to get your ideas out. And it's more about how you act versus what you're saying. Just like that chart shows, only 7% of what you say is really heard by the people. When you're speaking, they more care about how you hold yourself and how you are acting towards their culture. And then